Submit the bill H.R. 1 to the Committee on Finance with instructions to report back forthwith.
Mr. President, I ask that further reading of the motion be dispensed with.
Without objection.
Mr. President, this is a motion supported by all Finance Democrats to send the bill back to the Finance Committee to strike all the Medicaid cuts and ensure that big corporations and the ultra-wealthy pay their fair share in taxes. It is now clear that there is bipartisan opposition in the Senate to the Medicaid cuts in this bill. That's because it's the biggest Medicaid cut in history and represents the largest transfer of wealth in history. It is caviar over kids, hedge funds over health care, Mar-a-Lago over the middle class. These Medicaid cuts are going to reach down into every corner of our nation's health care system. As we've heard from rural America, rural hospitals will close their doors. Seniors are going to lose care at home and be left with fewer nursing homes and fewer nurses. Kids with disabilities will lose health care. We saw them on the steps of the Capitol last night. Never have I seen legislation
Senator's time's expired.
focused on denying health care to eligible Americans.
Senator's time is
an
expired.
Opportunity to take these awful Medicaid cuts off the table and find another way forward. I yield back.
Mr. President.
I recognize the senator from Kansas.
Mr. President, good morning. It's great to be here. I just want to share with America.
Hey guys, happy Monday. Yes, back to work Monday, and welcome to the Fox 5 Live Zone. I'm your host, Guy Lambert. Thank you so much for joining us today. Coming up on the show, President Trump's big, beautiful bill needs a big thumbs up from lawmakers. We'll break it all down for you. The latest in the Sean P. Diddy Combs sex crimes trial. His fate now in the hands of a jury. And we're talking restaurants. Well, not just that, but the restaurants you say happen to be the worst in America. All that and more coming up on the show. But first, how about we talk weather? We love this guy. Yes, referring to Caesar, joining us right here on the Live Zone. Happy Monday, my friend.
Happy Monday, Guy. I'm hoping that today has been a little bit of a bearable day. I know it's already starting to get a little hot out there.
Oh, it's hot.
You know,
and humid.
The big thing is, though, with a lot of this is going to be some of the last few days that we're going to see this heat and humidity. So we just got to bear through it, grunt through this last little stretch. And then it's looking a lot clearer as we head in towards the holiday weekend.
Wow.
So let's jump right into it, right? So the forecast for today, we're expecting to see temperatures back in towards those low 90s. Again, another humid day out there with the possibility of some of those pop-up thunderstorms towards the afternoon and evening hours. So something to keep in mind as you go about your Monday. Not everyone's going to see a lot of rain, but if you do see some rain showers, just remember, could see the potential for some gusty winds as well as the frequent lightning. Warm as we head in towards tonight. Temperatures going to hang well in towards those mid to upper 70s. If you're places like Annapolis, Leonardtown, even Fredericksburg, we can see temperatures near 80 degrees, if not downright at 80. So that's going to be a toasty night as we head in towards our Tuesday. And just talking about the rain showers, right? Again, it's going to be pretty spotty, and not everyone is expected to see some of this rain, but it is now going to be the main thing of we have all this humidity, all of this moisture in the atmosphere. All it needs really is now a just lifting mechanism, and that's what comes up Tuesday. So this is going to be the day where we're certainly going to be keeping an eye for some of these storms because, again, we have that heat, we have that humidity, those two ingredients. All you need is that little uplift, something to just kind of get the ball rolling, and then it's just moving on from there. And as that cold front starts to slide through here on Tuesday, we start to see rain showers and thunderstorms starting to really pick up in intensity as we head in towards that later afternoon hours. You know, everything gets to bake in. You start to really see everything boil over here with all of that heat. And then finally, as that cold front slides through, we start to see a lot of that shifting over towards the eastern shore. By the time we get towards Wednesday and Thursday, much drier. Not really going to see much in any kind of rain showers, but it is going to be that event pretty busy Tuesday. So again, could impact your evening commute home. If you're looking to go out to the beach early on Tuesday, it's best to do it earlier than later on that evening, or just wait towards the actual evening nighttime if you're heading out over to Ocean City, Bethany, Rehoboth, something of that sort. We do have the potential for some severe weather and some of the smaller, stronger storms for Monday. Similar story as for Tuesday. But look, after Tuesday, right, we start to see temperatures dropping back down in towards those mid to upper 80s thanks to that cold front. The good thing is humidity drops as well. So we're going to see dew points by the time we get towards Thursday and Friday back into the 50s. It's been a while since we've seen air that dry, and that's just in time for the holiday weekend. So after we get past Monday and Tuesday with those rain showers and thunderstorms, right? By the time we get towards Wednesday, Thursday, we start to see things finally returning back to normal in terms of temperatures, and also humidity finally wanes a little bit. But as we head in towards the weekend, that's where temperatures start to get back in towards those upper 80s, low 90s. A little bit of moisture starts to return, so we do start to pick up humidity once again. Really meaning that it is the DMV summer for us, you know.
Yeah.
It is going to be humid at some point again, but hey, 4th of July, I'm going to take it. You know, there's going to be fireworks all over the place. We at least want to have a nice and dry sky for that one.
I'm with you on that one. Cosign, check it off. Caesar joining us with all things weather right here on the Live Zone. Truly appreciate you, my friend. Hey, guys, if you haven't already done so, make sure you download the Fox Local app. That way you can take that forecast with you any and everywhere you go. Well, on your marks, get set, go. And with that, a vote-a-rama is underway in the Senate, during which a marathon voting session on amendments is taking place. Lawmakers are offering changes to President Trump's big, beautiful bill before a final vote. He wants that vote to be conducted no later than July 4th. Joining us to discuss this and so much more is Mr. Timothy Allen Simon, political strategist back here on the Live Zone. Happy Monday to you, sir.
Happy Monday to you, Guy. Thank you.
All right, well, we're talking about the big, beautiful bill, in this case, President Trump's big, beautiful bill, that will, in essence, solidify his legacy if it is passed. The question is, will that happen, Timothy?
Well, the BBB seems to be running into some bipartisan opposition. Tom Tillis has expressly voted against it, announced he's not going to run for re-election since President Trump has stated he will primary him based on his vote against the procedural accounting, some say gimmick, that is putting it on the floor. And yes, I think the president's big, beautiful bill, if it goes through, is not going to look as beautiful as he originally intended in his eyes, not only in the area of Medicaid and cuts to rural hospitals, but certain energy credits. The Biden administration put key clean energy projects intentionally in red states to sustain the legislation. The deficit increase of an estimated $3.3 trillion, 11.8 million people falling off of Medicare or Obamacare, Affordable Care Act. So I think there are a lot of issues here that are affecting the very people that voted for President Trump. He brought in a very grassroots coalition within his MAGA movement. And I think now they're seeing that the intent of moving this wealth gap even further in benefiting billionaires and corporations and tax breaks is getting some political traction in terms of opposition. So I think it'll look a lot different than it looks today.
Well, as you pointed out, Timothy, we know that 2 Republicans, in essence, have voted no for the bill as it currently stands. Trump is now threatening to, in essence, come after those Republicans, stating they will feel his wrath during re-election time. Your response to that?
Well, President Trump is effective in his primarying candidates. That's probably why Tom Tillis, one of the reasons why he probably opted to resign. Sometimes public officials just want to get back into the private sector as well. But I do think as we're moving towards midterms, more and more within the party are going to be looking out for their constituents in a way that's going to protect their seats. And if it is viewed that they've abandoned the rural class, those red areas that are dependent, they may not be willing to admit it, but are dependent on government support, they know that that could be a reckoning come midterms. So I'm not convinced that all candidates will fear President Trump primarying them.
Well, Timothy, it's no secret. One of the big agenda issues, if you will, happens to surround the Congressional Budget Office analysis of those that would remain without health insurance come the year 2034. We're talking 11.8 million people. That's more than the 10.9 million more people projected to be left uninsured by the House-passed version of the bill. Yet again, a major issue.
a major issue, and it comes down to account, as they say, the devil's in the detail. The Trump administration's position is that the adjustments to Medicaid qualifications will direct the resources to those who actually qualify. Democrats are saying no, these are other cuts intended to make the tax cuts for the wealthy more palatable from an accounting standpoint. This will be a major issue in the midterms. More to come.
All right, we've got time for one more. In this case, I want to touch on what's surrounding Harvard University. We know the Trump administration now finding Harvard in violent violation of the Civil Rights Act, now threatening further loss of federal resources. This back and forth with Harvard and the president seems to, seems to be no light at the end of the tunnel there, Timothy.
Yes, because it is also nebulous, capricious, and arbitrary. There's no real legal definition of what is illegal DE&I. The Harvard University of North Carolina case only addressed admissions. The Trump administration is expanding this now into the cultural wars in what is their announced attack on wokeism. Wokeism is not illegal. It may not be popular in certain sectors of the country, but it is not constitutionally prohibited. I think Harvard is doing, and then of course it's the issue of the Jewish students who've expressed feeling harassed or unsafe in the demonstrations surrounding the tragic massacre that's occurring in Gaza. This is a test case that other universities will be watching very closely. If Harvard settles, it'll probably be the template for other universities if they do not expect litigation.
It's going to be really interesting to see whether or not that will be addressed during the White House press briefing that's set to get underway beginning at 1 p.m. Mr. Timothy Allen Simon, political strategist, joining us right here on the Live Zone. Always good to see you, my friend.
Good to see you, Guy. Thank you very much.
All right. Well, if you happen to take a look around, you'll pretty much realize it's hot. It's beyond hot. The U.S. experiencing a summer heat wave. As a result, there is a heightened risk of blackouts as electricity use soars in extreme weather tests the nation's aging power grid. What's more, the U.S. is now projected to need 10 gigawatts more electricity in the upcoming summer season than it did last year. It's become clear that nuclear energy has proven to be the source that keeps the power on in the most extreme times. Joining us now to discuss this and so much more is Mr. John Kotek, Senior Vice President, Policy and Public Affairs for the Nuclear Energy Institute. Mr. Kotek, good to see you, sir, and welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
All right, you heard me. The heat is on, and it's on in a major way right here in D.C. as I speak. I'm curious, you stated that 2024 was a landmark year for nuclear energy. In this case, we're talking about keeping this place cool.
Yeah, for sure. We have seen remarkable progress on both the policy front and the technology front for nuclear energy, or really over the last decade. And just in recent years, we've seen both the prior administration and the Trump administration really leaning in on both keeping the nuclear power that we have, which currently generates almost 20% of our electricity here in the U.S. and more than that in the DMV area, but also creating a pathway for new nuclear construction.
One of the things you're looking to do now is really inform new policymakers and, in essence, maintain the status quo.
Yeah, and what's happening now is there's a recognition, just to your point about the importance of having nuclear during these challenging weather conditions. There's a recognition that nuclear's 24/7, 365 availability is really important as we deal with challenging weather situations, whether it's extreme heat like we're dealing with now or extreme cold. You need technologies like nuclear that aren't weather dependent and that aren't dependent on real-time delivery of fuel. One of the really novel things about nuclear and the valuable things is once you refuel your nuclear reactor, you can run it between 18 and 24 months between refuelings. And so it can run flat out over that year and a half, 2 years. You're not worried about the sun shining, the wind blowing, or the availability of, or ability to ship fuel to a site. And so it can be there when other technologies can't. That's why nuclear runs over 92% of the time in the U.S. and is such a valuable part of our grid.
Mr. Kotek, I want to talk about climate change. In this case, we know that happens to be a big issue, but we've also discovered that when it comes to sustainability, nuclear is the way to go.
Yeah, nuclear really has something to offer for everyone. If you're concerned about climate, it's by far the largest source of carbon-free generation we have in the United States. If you're worried about grid reliability, we've touched on that. If you're worried about energy security, having a strong civil nuclear export sector like we do in the U.S. provides long-term influence over the directions that other countries take with their energy programs. And so, regardless of what you're looking for, nuclear delivers, and not to mention the long-term, well-paying jobs that come from nuclear power plant construction in the U.S. And I think that's really why we've seen such strong bipartisan support over the last decade. Is there's really something there for everybody.
Well, I know you don't have that crystal ball in front of you, so it's not easy to predict the future. But in this case, you state that, well, nuclear will be a major key player.
It will for sure. The prior administration had announced the commitment to triple nuclear energy in the U.S. by mid-century. President Trump just came out and said he wants to make that 4x by mid-century. So companies are making plans today to both keep the nuclear we have running, just as safely, efficiently, and as long as possible, but also to add new nuclear power plants to the system to help us meet those 3x, 4x goals.
Good stuff. Good information to know. John, folks that want to find out more information, how would one go about to do so?
Come to our website, ndI.org.
Very good. Yet again, Mr. John Kotek, Senior Vice President, Policy and Public Affairs from the Nuclear Energy Institute. Sir, truly appreciate your time. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
No doubt. Well, the Greater Washington, D.C. Black Chamber of Commerce will host its Juneteenth Awards reception. It's going to take place today, actually. The nonprofit's mission is to support economic development in the Black community through education, enterprise, and entrepreneurship. This year's theme, dubbed Art of Black Business. Joining us to discuss this and so much more is Aisha Bond, President and CEO of the Greater Washington, D.C. Black Chamber of Commerce. Good to see you, ma'am, and welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. It's good to see you as well.
All right, it's a busy day and a good day at that for you all, obviously celebrating all things Juneteenth. Do tell, what should we expect today?
Well, thank you for having us. It is an exciting day. We're hard at work getting everything underway for our reception this evening. We do this every year just to commemorate really the champions in our region who support Black business, who are advocating for Black businesses, and who are engaged in Black enterprise regionally and beyond. So this is a way to really celebrate not just those achievements, but how beautiful it is to watch us achieve the successes that we have in our community and beyond, which is why we call it the art of Black business. We think it's a beautiful thing to watch.
Why is it so important to really hold this event, though, around this time? And I'm making reference to Juneteenth.
Absolutely. Juneteenth is about economic empowerment. If we really think about what those freedoms really are about that we celebrate for the Juneteenth holiday. So throughout the course of the month of June, we're constantly celebrating the different ways that Black people have expressed that commitment to economic empowerment and the ways in which that we can continue to do so collectively. So we try to take this time every year to celebrate not just the season, but the accomplishments and the progress.
And every year is special, but yet again, this year is extra special as well because, well, it's really meaningful for the chamber, and I'm hoping you can explain why.
Well, this year, we're really just in a great leveraging standpoint, and we're excited to share and showcase a lot of that with new members and participants who will come to the reception and take place in the event today. We have really extended a lot of our stakeholder groups and a lot of our business opportunities. And this year, more than ever, we are looking not just locally, regionally, and nationally, but also globally. So we're really excited to bring some of that insight and entice some of you folks to join us along this road to global success.
You have dubbed this year's honorees Changemakers. I love that title. Do
That's
tell.
Right. We have many change makers amongst us. Some are legacy change makers, like you'll see in the graphic you have above with Doyle Mitchell, who is the president of Industrial Bank, which is a bank that's been around for generations here in this region. And others are newer change makers, like Amanda Stevenson, who owns the Fresh Food Factory over in Southeast, who's doing amazing work bringing fresh food and having hosting a food incubator for up-and-coming food businesses alike. So there's a great array of people that are being celebrated.
Yeah, yet again, all set to get underway today, beginning at 4 p.m. In one sentence, if you will, I'm hoping you could describe what this event says about legacy, resilience, and so forth.
In one sentence, I would say it really just highlights the significance of pushing forward and continuing to take steps in the direction that you have faith in, a direction that you know that will bring synergy for your community, and a direction that you hope will expand us into new spaces that we haven't been before.
Yet again, it's the Juneteenth Awards reception getting underway beginning at 4 p.m. We've been speaking with Aisha Bond, President and CEO of the Greater Washington, D.C. Black Chamber of Commerce. Truly enjoyed this conversation. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
You got it. All right, guys, we'll take a quick break. On the flip side of that break, Sean P. Diddy Combs, his fate now lies in the hands of a jury. We'll discuss that next, right here on the Live Zone.
Mr. Warnock. Mr. Warnock, aye.
Two seconds. On this motion, the yeas are 47, the nays are 53. The motion is not agreed to. I recognize the senator from Delaware.
Mr. President, I have a motion to commit at the desk.
The clerk will report it.
The senator from Delaware, Mr. Coons, moves to commit the bill H.R. 1 to the Committee on Finance with instructions to report back forthwith.
Mr. President, I ask further reading of the motion be dispensed with.
Without objection.
Colleagues, the ugly truth about this so-called big, beautiful bill is that it will kick 17 million Americans off their health care. This bill cuts almost $1 trillion from Medicaid and other health care programs by tying people up in red tape. Republicans will tell you they're trying to improve Medicaid, but the truth is they're not. It is cruel and dishonest to bury parents, kids, and seniors in paperwork and then blame them when they lose their health care.
All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. Now the latest on the Sean Diddy Combs sex crimes trial. Jurors have now received instructions from the judge. They are now deliberating. The panel heard closing arguments from the defense and prosecution last week. Joining us to discuss this and so much more is Mr. Eric Faddis, trial attorney, and Mackenzie Joy Brennan, trial attorney and federal litigation attorney as well. I should make mention, Mackenzie, you are outside of the courthouse right now. Is that correct?
I am, and boy, it is crazy out here, so I'm sorry if it gets loud.
Oh, no, I mean, that's what happened. This is where the rubber meets the road. A lot of folks, pretty much all eyes are on this court case. I'm curious, I'm hoping you can describe what you have seen thus far, what you're surrounded by and the pandemonium that's taking place behind you.
Yeah, so honestly, throughout the trial, it's had ebbs and flows of this kind of atmosphere, but if you can see, this is usually all empty, and right now this is all streamers. These are not folks who are connected to the courthouse at all. It's all for the Diddy trial. A moment ago, the gal who was kicked out of the courthouse for making a fuss in the overflow room was just back out here yelling about the trial, yelling that the government is out to get Diddy. So we'll see if she comes back, but boy, pandemonium is right.
Yeah, I got to tell you, this is it's going to be really interesting to see what happens with that. And with saying that, I want to now go to Eric Faddis. In this case, we now know, Eric, yet again, that Diddy's fate now lies in the hands of a jury. What do jurors hear with regard to instructions? We heard earlier that the judge gave those jurors instructions. What does that consist of?
Totally. So this is a reading of all of the law that's going to apply to the case. So there are instructions about witness credibility and how to evaluate that. There are instructions on what evidence can be considered and what evidence can't be considered. Very importantly, there are instructions that define the charges, including the RICO charge, the sex trafficking charge, and the interstate transportation charges. Those are critical. And then there's lastly a instruction on reasonable doubt and what that means and how you go about determining if the prosecution has met that burden. So this is a critical roadmap for the jury to follow during their deliberations.
And then there's the foreperson, to which, yet again, folks like me are saying, hey, not sure what that is, do tell.
Yeah, so the foreperson is really at the helm of the ship. They are the leader. They sort of coordinate things and try to facilitate the deliberations in a constructive way. Oftentimes, they can have more weight than a person who maybe is not the foreperson. That's not how it's supposed to be. But they're human beings back there, and so that leader will sort of conduct the deliberations with the help and collaboration of the other jurors.
Yet again, we're speaking with Eric Faddis and Mackenzie Joy Brennan, who is outside of the courthouse. We know that the judge told the jury they can stay late to keep deliberating. So, Mackenzie, I'm curious. I mean, obviously, we know the jurors are not entering through the front door, but I would suspect a lot of folks are standing there and trying to get a peek as to what they're doing.
Yeah, I believe it was about 10 minutes ago that they got the instruction to start deliberating. So, yeah, it's all starting right now. Obviously, we have the July 4th weekend coming up, and even though that may sound like a non-factor, people want to get home, they want to get to their plans. A lot of folks are traveling. So in cases like that, sometimes there's a concern that the jury would err on the side of a guilty verdict and just get it over with. Certainly in a case like this, where we've been in hours and hours and weeks and months of testimony, I could certainly see jurors being a little frustrated and wanting to get moving. So that certainly could play into this.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because, Eric, we now know that this trial took, count them, not 1, but 2 months overall. And with a trial like that, to Mackenzie's point, do the jurors say, you know what, I've just had it, I'm done. Let's just either get a guilty or non-guilty and just move on. What does that say?
There's always a concern with juror fatigue in a long trial like this. They heard from 34 or so witnesses, and these deliberations are likely not going to be brief. These are serious charges, complicated charges. And so, yes, there's always a concern, oftentimes on behalf of the defense, that if these jurors just want to get out of there, the court has to make sure they are not imposing any onerous conditions on this jury, like making them stay until midnight or something like that. I doubt the court would do that. But the court has to be mindful of those juror fatigue concerns for sure.
We know that Diddy's defense claims he was unfairly targeted, while the prosecution says he thought he was untouchable. I'm curious, and yet again, I know it's now in the hands of the jury, but which way do you think this is going to go? Will he be found guilty of any or all charges?
My read on it, Guy, is that there was certainly some problematic and concerning testimony, but overall, the evidence presentation from the government was somewhat underwhelming. My prediction is that he will be convicted of the interstate transportation charges, which are the least serious. I think there's a reasonable likelihood he'd be acquitted of the sex trafficking and RICO charges, and if he does sustain a conviction on those lesser offenses, there is no mandatory prison time. He's likely going to get time served.
Mackenzie, I see you shaking your head up and down, so I would assume you are agreeing with Eric.
I agree on the Mann Act, the transportation for prostitution being a slam dunk, more or less. I do think that the jury might strike a compromise given the gravity of the sex trafficking information that they've seen and at least give one. And then I could see a judge, because the maximum sentence for each Mann Act conviction would be 10 years. So while it could be no prison time, I could see a judge trying to strike a compromise, somewhat like OJ's later criminal trial was sort of seen as a compensation for the fact that he got off the first time. I could see a judge sentencing towards the maximum if there is any conviction, so that there's some justice even if he is acquitted on the other charges.
Well, in the meantime, we're all sitting on pins and needles awaiting the verdict, which, when that happens, of course, we'll bring it to you first right here on the Live Zone. We've been speaking with Eric Faddis, trial attorney, and Mackenzie Joy Brennan, outside of the courthouse, trial attorney as well. Thank you all so much for coming on the show.
Thanks for having us.
You got it. All right, guys, we'll take a quick break and we'll be right back.
Mr. Marshall, Mr. McConnell, Mr. McCormick, Mr. Merkley, Mrs. Moody, Mr. Moran, Mr. Marino. Mr. Merkley, Mrs. Moody, Mr. Moran, Mr. Marino, Mr. Mullen, Ms. Murkowski. Ms. Murkowski, Mr. Murphy, Mrs. Murray, Mr. Ossoff, Mr. Padilla, Mr. Paul, Mr. Peters, Mr. Reed, Mr. Ricketts, Mr. Risch, Ms. Rosen, Mr. Rounds, Mr. Sanders, Mr. Schatz, Mr. Schiff, Mr. Schmidt, Mr. Schumer, Mr. Scott of Florida, Mr. Scott of South Carolina, Mrs. Shaheen, Mr. Sheehy, Ms. Slotkin, Ms. Smith, Mr. Sullivan, Mr. Thune, Mr. Tillis, Mr. Tuberville, Mr. Van Hollen, Mr. Warner, Mr. Warnock, Ms. Warren, Mr. Welch, Mr. Whitehouse, Mr. Wicker, Mr. Wyden, Mr. Young. Senators voting in the affirmative: also Brooks, Bennett, Blumenthal, Blunt-Rochester, Cantwell, Coons, Cortez Masto, Durbin, Fetterman, Gallego, Hickenlooper, Hirono, Kane, Kelly, Kim, King, Klobuchar, Lujan, Merkley, Murkowski, Murphy, Murray, Ossoff, Peters, Reed, Rosen, Schiff, Schumer, Shaheen, Slotkin, Smith, Van Hollen, Warner, Warnock, Warren, Welch, Whitehouse, and Wyden. Senators voting in the negative: Banks, Bozeman, Britt, Budd, Cotton, Crapo, Cruz, Curtis, Ernst, Graham, Haggerty, Hawley, Husted, Johnson, Kennedy, Lee, Lummis, Marshall, McConnell, Moody, Moran, Paul, Ricketts, Risch, Rounds, Scott of South Carolina, Sullivan, Thune, Tillis, and Tuberville. Ms. Baldwin, aye.
All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. Giving back in a major way, helping those who are in dire need of help. That's exactly what Dani Moore King hopes to do as she seeks the seat for the Maryland State Delegate District 26. She launched her campaign over the weekend and joins us now right here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. Dani, always good to see you. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Guy. Hi, everyone.
I got to tell you, I am so proud of what you've been able to do. I am so sorry I missed the actual campaign launch over the weekend, but I've heard and saw amazing photos with regard to what took place. You have been a mainstay, if you will, with regard to being in the community and giving back in a major way. And now, well, like LeBron said, you want to take your talents elsewhere. In this case, you want to serve the people of Maryland. Do tell, what is it that you hope to do as you seek this seat yet again?
Indeed, Guy. I am running for Maryland State Delegate here in District 26. And for everyone that does not know their districts, 26 is Fort Washington, Oxon Hill, Temple Hill, National Harbor, Forest Heights, parts of Akakeek. There's so much I want to do to help in our community, Guy, starting with healthcare for seniors and the disabled, mental health advocacy, veterans reform and care for the veterans, policing. So many things that I hope to do, Guy. So I just hope to have everyone's support out here in District 26 and beyond.
Yeah, I want to touch on the actual disabilities for individuals, because this is something that hits near and dear to you. It hits home, if you will. Your husband actually has a disability, so you have dealt with this firsthand.
I have, Guy. Thanks for bringing that up. My husband, Dr. Jeffrey King, had a stroke at my father's funeral service 7 years ago, sitting on the front row of my father's funeral service. My husband lived on life support for many months, and then this was in Georgia. And when I brought him back to Maryland, there were certain parts of the healthcare that I felt lacked luster. And so I have been able to see a lot firsthand that I want to get in and help my delegation with as far as getting better health care for seniors and persons with disabilities.
We'll move on to veteran housing, something yet again near and dear to your heart. The question is why? And I say that because in this day and age, so many people overlook veterans. I think it's fair to say that, but you want to bring attention yet again to their needs.
I do indeed want to bring attention. I am a military dependent. My father did 20 plus years in the U.S. Army. I too am a military veteran and 100% disabled military veteran. I see homeless veterans on our streets. And I am a realtor full time, and that hurts me. A lot of these veterans have went off to war, and they have fought for us, and they deserve the benefits from the government. So I want to be able to help veterans to get those, get housing, and get what is due for them.
Dani, it's no secret. One of the things that I would argue that we sweep under the rug within our community surrounds mental health, and this in case mental health awareness. That's something yet again that you want to bring attention to.
Absolutely. I got an opportunity to speak with our county councilman, the chair of the county councilman here in District 8, County Council District 8, Edward Burrows. And he gave me an alarming statistic that 1 in 5 kids in this school district have contemplated suicide. I was like, whoa. So I want to help with mental advocacy. I want the kids to be able to be comfortable coming to their school counselors, their parents, people in the community saying, I need help. Guy, being a caregiver, I raise my hand and I say on many days, I need help. So myself feel like I need mental help some days, and therefore I have a counselor, and I want other people to feel like it's okay to have a counselor as well.
Yeah. Well, let's wrap up with regard to the community-driven public safety aspect. I say that because, yet again, so many folks care about this, but I feel as though so many times it's overlooked. In your case, you say no longer.
No longer. I am, my husband is a retired police officer. My brother has been on the force in Georgia 34 years. My father-in-law, who has passed, was one of the chiefs in DC Police Department. There is so much that I want to see happen with public safety. Seniors in my community, they want to feel safe. We all want to feel safe. You know, there's certain parts of my own neighborhood where I feel safe, but then maybe a mile down the street, my neighbors don't feel safe. So I want policing to get back to what I remember as a child, where police could drive by, you knew their names, and we are a community. Unity is the key. So unity between our police officers and the residents is key. So that is just 1, 2, 3, 4 of many that I want to help get through in my district.
Yeah. Well, Dani, yet again, so proud of what you've been able to do. Continued success, and wishing you success as you embark on this new journey. Yet again, we've been speaking with Dani Moore King. She is seeking the seat for Maryland State Delegate District 26. Dani, folks that want to find out more information about you, how would one go about to do so?
Sure, absolutely. Go to DaniMooreKing.com, DaniMooreKing.com. She's going to be making a lot of noise out here, so you will see me in the street and hear my name, and I would love for you all to join me.
By the way, I love the slogan, Dani, more than a voice, a vision. I like that. That's very catchy. Congratulations yet again. All right, guys, you're welcome. We'll take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Mr. Young, Mr. Young, no.
All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone on a Feel Good Monday. Back to work Monday. Yay.
Oh my God, Ann, we were talking about it earlier too. They were like, it's the 30th. Guess what that means tomorrow? And I was like, rent.
Yeah.
I was like, not the first of a new month, rent.
Yeah, car payment and the whole nine. It just, All right, let's get rid of those Monday blues and have a little fun, shall we? In this case, Annie Mae joining us for the Monday Talkers. Some of the stories that you guys are talking about at home. You love Oreos?
I'm in the middle.
Okay, me too. It's not
Or
the
like if they're
biggest
out,
thing.
I'll eat them, but I probably wouldn't buy them myself.
Oh,
if
well.
that somewhere in the middle.
Well, perhaps you'll buy this. I'm we're talking about the
I was
return
expecting you to say yes.
of a new Oreo flavor. Not really. I'm talking about the blueberry pie Oreos.
Okay, that
are
looks
making a
good.
comeback after being discontinued back in 2017. There is a catch. Yes, we're talking about 2 graham cracker flavored cookies with blueberry cream in the middle. They will only be available for a limited time. So my question is, why? If we love it,
I know.
why not bring it back forever?
I don't understand why they don't. You know what? And they do the same thing when it comes to the Starbucks of the world that do their pumpkin spice latte and Christmas flavors where you have the peppermint. But this looks fire.
Yeah.
This I would eat over an Oreo. I mean, like over a normal Oreo, this I would totally eat because I love like Teddy Grahams, like that kind of flavor of stuff, like the honey, like graham cracker. So I would totally try this. But I agree. Why would you not just like have it?
Yeah, it's like a tease. Come on, guys. I mean, the people ask for it. Give the people what they want.
I don't understand. I will never get it, and it's not like seasonal at all. It's not seasonal. Bring it back and keep it because they have. Think about how many flavors they have of Oreos.
Gosh.
When you go down to the cookie aisle, it's like birthday cake, mint, regular. Like you have every single flavor you could possibly want, and the birthday cake is actually fire.
Is it? I haven't tried that one yet.
And the fudge covered ones are
Really?
good too.
I am such a fan of
Anything
graham
but the
crackers.
original. I'm such a hater of the original.
Yeah, I don't like the original either.
Yeah.
Especially in, I'm not a big fan of milk, but I guess you're supposed to like dip it in milk and it's supposed to make it taste also
It's gotta
better.
get like soggy.
Yeah.
You gotta get it soggy though.
Yeah.
That's the best part.
Oh, gosh, okay.
Birthday cake, fire.
All right, well, now I'm going to have to give it a try. Hey, let's move on. In this case, speaking of food, we're talking about these are the worst restaurant chains in the U.S., according to a new report. Any guesses to what the #1 worst restaurant happens to be?
Worst? Like worst service? Worst food? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good question. It just says what people voted on. In this case, it happens to be KFC. But they were saying that analyzed some 7.3 million TripAdvisor reviews of 244 restaurant brands. Yeah, and KFC came up to be numero uno. Apparently, a lot of folks say they just don't like the way it tastes. They say the chicken is a little dry. Second happens to be McDonald's. And speaking of dry, the same thing.
No McDonald's hate.
They said the food was nasty. It took too long to take my order.
Valid.
Others in the top 10 list: Church's Texas Chicken, Long John Silver, Taco Bell, Hardee's, Wendy's, and Pizza Hut.
Oh my God! So like, what? You hate every fast food besides Chick-fil-A?
Yeah.
Is what you're saying? Oh, whatever. Get over it. The problem is Chick-fil-A is like high-end fast food.
Yeah,
Like the
I
way that
agree.
you go to Chick-fil-A is just like different. It's in its own category. And then like when you go to McDonald's, like the problem is like, well, you used to kind of pay those lower prices, so you would like it was like a patty flip whether or not it was going to be good, right?
Yeah.
To use a hilarious metaphor, but like you know what I mean? You don't get the quality for the bang for your buck because you're not paying that much. But now they're raising prices to the point where you get a meal, like a full meal from McDonald's, like with a burger, fries, and a drink, and it's like $11.
It's so expensive.
So it's like you're not dishing out what the whole point of why people come to you anymore.
No, I
So,
agree with that as well.
I don't know.
KFC for me, it's the mashed potatoes are probably the only thing that I like outside of that. It's I mean, I don't know, the chicken is it real chicken? Wasn't that a question at one point?
It never is. I don't even get me into the chicken conspiracy. I think chickens died out long ago. Okay.
So what are we eating anyway?
Because I don't know. That's what I want to know. Because think about how many stories you do on like the Super Bowl, how you eat X amount of wings, and how many chickens are there in the world, and how many chicken wings do we eat? 2 wings per chicken? I don't know, man.
Well,
Don't even get me started on conspiracy theories, because I'll talk forever.
I still don't know which one came first, the chicken or the egg.
Genetically modified chicken.
And they're genetically modified eggs.
I'm literally insane.
Well, perhaps you like to zone out from time to time as you think about chicken. In that case, it's actually really a good thing. New research has found that when people zone out, well, quite honestly, it teaches your brain about the world. How? I really don't understand this. In this case, it's just stating that when you do zone out, you find yourself, well, let's just say daydreaming, and as you daydream, it teaches your brain things that perhaps you would not have thought of previously.
Maybe like a creative side.
You think so?
Maybe. Like I get where it's like you're not like completely like in the world, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
So you're kind of creating and imagining different things, and that can just kind of open your brain up to like what there is in the world.
Yep.
Maybe.
I can see that.
I get that. But I think there are also like people that are creative minds and people that are not creative minds, right? So my brain is constantly like creating, changing, altering, doing things, and some people just aren't like that. They're very mathematical, very historian, very specific science brains, and I'm just a very brain.
Yeah.
That's
well,
how I describe
don't
it.
think. Well, I mean, you have a nice brain anyway. But I wouldn't say it's scatterbrain.
Thanks. You have a nice brain. That's a good compliment.
Am I going to get sent to HR for saying that?
I won't call it on you. Don't worry.
I saw the F1 movie over the weekend,
Oh, you did? It was
and
good.
so I daydreamed about actually driving an F1, Formula car or whatever you call it. And so I think, I could see that. So I think I would know how to perhaps open the door, or I guess you just get in.
I'd be scared.
And then
man.
like change the what do you call it, gears
The
and all
gear
that.
shift? Yeah,
So
the gear shift.
but I
realize how
daydreamed
fast
about
they
that.
go?
Oh my God, it was so fast.
It's a no for me. I want to like be in the passenger seat when like somebody else drives me, and I'd be like, okay, go like 100, go like 110.
I don't think there's a passenger seat
Don't they
in
go like
that,
200 miles an hour?
I know.
Can they make one for me?
Well, probably.
These are
You're
the
Annie Mae.
questions. These are the questions that I have.
I'm still stuck on which comes first, the chicken or the egg. Let us
True.
know.
I don't
Fox 5
know
Live
either.
Zone.
I don't know either.
We call this our Monday Talkers, guys. Annie Mae joining us right here on the Live Zone. Love the brain. We'll be right back. All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. Well, it's that time of the month again, the time in which Google discusses new trends. The monthly report looks at search data from all 50 states, and yes, D.C. included, to help indicate what Americans are talking about. Of course, I would assume a lot of it has to deal with summer, 4th of July, things of that nature. It's because that's time of the year. Joining us to discuss that and so much more is Candace Bryant, Google search trends expert right here on the Live Zone. Good to see you, Candace. Welcome to the show.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
I am so excited for you to be here because I am such a nerd when it comes to this stuff. What in the heck is everybody searching for?
Well, as you said, the 4th of July is coming up this weekend, so we're seeing just a ton of search interest around that. People are looking for fireworks. One really interesting trend that we're seeing nationally is people are searching increasingly more for drone light shows than fireworks shows. And as you probably know, a lot of venues incorporate both types of lights into their shows these days. We're also seeing people search for where they can watch the fireworks. Here in DC, the place to be. Google Maps reviews shows that that is a popular destination, not just locally, but nationally for people coming outside of the area.
Yeah, I just find this so amazing and so fascinating that folks actually, well, I happen to be one of them. I always Google things of this nature, and I just thought I happen to stand alone. But it's the mere fact that so many other folks do this as well. One of the things a lot of people are talking about surrounds travel. In this case, the top summer vacation searches of 2025.
Yeah, we're seeing some interesting regional differences. So in the north, by and large, people are searching for lake vacations, and in the southern states, people are searching for beach vacations. And here in DC, as you know, we're kind of like right in the middle, and we're actually trending more beach.
Yeah. So what about the best dates and spots to travel to this summer? Because for me, it's probably Ocean City.
Ocean City. Yeah, I think Ocean City is a popular destination here for people in DC. I know a lot of people head up to Bethany Beach and all of those locations. You can head over to Google to search all of that and more.
All right, so we're going to break down this next topic, and this all surrounds odd news, which, yet again, I absolutely love. I am so curious what people want to find out about. In this case, it happens to surround none other than Love Island.
Love Island, yes. Love Island is huge. So June has been all about reality TV. People are searching for reality television shows about love, and Love Island is trending nationally. But DC is actually in the top 5 in terms of places searching for Love Island. We're just behind New Jersey at the #2 spot.
So why is that, Ken? I mean, it's just so, out of all things, why are folks checking that out?
A lot of it seems to be personality driven. So, in addition to searching for Love Island, they're searching for some of the various hosts who are coming from other reality shows and bringing their fan bases with them. So, for example, Paige DeSorbo was a breakout search. She's from Summer House. Ariana Maddox from Vanderpump Rules was a host, and she was trending as well.
Yeah, I got to tell you, it's so interesting to me, yet again, how all of this is broken down. One of the things that I love most outside of doing this job happens to be sports. And I love watching sports, but apparently I'm not alone. And, well, with regard to searches, a lot of folks are searching sports.
Absolutely. So we had the NBA playoffs just, I think, last week. So there was a lot of search interest around that. Really interesting, even though Oklahoma was triumphant, nationally, more people were searching for Indiana. And that was also true here in DC. People were also searching for the players. Tyrese Halliburton was a trending search because of his Achilles injury. So a lot of interest both in the game, but also the personalities surrounding the game.
Yeah, gosh. And so as we embark on, what is it now, July, believe it or not, I can't believe we've already entered, or, well, tomorrow, entering July. Anything you could forecast with regard to what we should expect to see during the month of July?
Well, in July, I think we'll see more of this, some of the summer trends around like fashion and beauty, for example. This time of year, there's a lot of search interest in just protecting your skin from the sun. So this time of year, we always see search interest in mineral sunscreen tends to peak. But we're also seeing some interesting searches around people looking for SPF in other products that they use, like their makeup setting sprays. We're also seeing a lot around fashion. Summer fabrics like linen are getting a lot of search attention right now. And some classics like crochet shirts tend to peak this time of year as well. And then an oldie that's kind of come back, or maybe it never left, is polka dots. So we're seeing a lot of interest in polka dots. Red polka dot bikini is trending.
Yeah. For me, I'm going to search how to stay cool. Transition AC. I think a lot of folks are going to actually Google that as well. Yet again, we've been speaking with Candace Bryant, Google search trends expert, joining us right here on the Live Zone. Always love chatting with you, Candace. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
You got it. All right, guys, we'll take a quick break and we'll be right back. All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. So it's one of the most anticipated movies of the summer. Talking about Superman. Yeah, faster than a speeding bullet. Hits theaters July 11th. Our own Kevin McCarthy got a chance to sit down with some of the cast.
One of my favorite scenes in the film is when we see Clark Kent's childhood room. If I were to walk into your childhood bedrooms when you were younger, what would have been on your walls? What posters would you have had? Like, what trophies would you have had in your rooms? Kind of like what Clark has in his film, in his room.
Well, I had a photo of Fred Durst of Limp Bizkit fame that I pulled out of a J14 magazine when I was a child, and my mother was horrified, and so she framed a picture of Prince William to put up on my wall next. I'm half British, so she was like, "You will idolize Prince William.
You will be acquainted.
You will." Didn't work out.
Not yet.
What for you?
I had a Hot Fuzz poster. That was my first movie poster. But before that, I would have had my Harry Award from my summer theater program. Harry Dietzler is the head of the program, and so we had the Harry Awards at the end of the year. And I won one for Best Villain when I played Jafar in Aladdin Jr.
That's awesome. The Hot Fuzz poster.
Yeah, that's good.
That's the best of the trilogy.
For sure. It's my favorite movie of all time. I've seen it 200 times. I can still watch it and enjoy it.
Does that mean you're a Bad Boys 2 fan too?
I have never seen Bad Boys 2. But I love in Hot Fuzz when he talks about Bad Boys 2. You ain't ever seen Bad Boys 2?
It's one of the best movies ever. What about you, Nicholas? What'd you have on your wall growing up?
I remember all my trophies.
Like what?
Tell us about your trophies.
One was most improved for the Reading Rockets basketball team I played for. So not the best player, but most improved, which I actually saw as a good sign of things to come. Unfortunately, I didn't.
He's still
play.
improving.
So yeah, that gives me hope. I won a bronze medal for discus, county discus, so that was displayed with pride. Those were all. It's not a very long list.
Well, I appreciate you sharing those.
Thanks.
Hey, buddy, eyes up here.
Choices, your actions
That's what makes you who you are.
I think there's an emotional difference that you can find between Clark Kent and Superman.
No, there isn't.
Oh, you don't?
No, 100% there is.
Oh, I was just wondering what you see in terms of the emotional difference between the two and kind of how each operate emotionally.
So I actually think the emotional part is the third character that plays both the characters. The actual guy, Clark Kent, who was raised by his parents on the farm, and Clark Kent at the Daily Planet and Superman are both characters that he puts on, because in the same way that Clark Kent is an alter ego, a disguise to fit in, to sort of get by, to maybe be in a room where he can get some information without sticking out. Superman is also a character because Superman needs to convey calm and reassurance, and more so than I think the real guy ever fully feels. He wants to convey a certainty and a feeling of having everything under control beyond what he actually feels, because he knows that that's what's going to make people feel calm and reassured. And so the emotional life, I think, is kind of the same throughout, which is ultimately a love of humanity, a desire to be connected to people, and Superman and Clark are just two different ways that he does that.
Superman yet again in theaters July 11th. Well, it's now top of the hour, 1 o'clock to be exact. We are expecting a White House press briefing to get underway momentarily, and when that happens, obviously, we'll take you there live right here on the Live Zone. Let's do a little celebrity dish, shall we? In this case, we're talking about a lot. Joining us, as she does each and every Monday, Life with Lindsay, back on the LZ. Good to see you, Lindsay.
Good to see you as always. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday to you. Not too happy talking about Beyonce with regard to what took place over the weekend. A flying car stage prop meant to lift Beyonce during her performance of 16 Carriages malfunctioned, Lindsay. It started tilting midair. The Houston-born singer tried to carry on while hanging on, but videos all over social media show her repeatedly saying "stop" into her microphone. The music stopped and the car prop was lowered to the ground. Thankfully, she was wearing a harness and was not hurt. This was a scary moment for Beyonce.
Oh my God, yes. And I have to give it to her because honestly, that is very, I mean, she was like suspended over the crowd. Like, I can't imagine what was going through her mind because she kept singing the song as well when it first happened. So she handled it I don't know if I could have handled it that calmly like she did. Like, shout out to her because that, she's safe, but like it could have not been that great. And she did not show, she probably was nervous in her mind, but she didn't show it. So like, I can't believe she handled it the way she did.
Yeah, well, as they say in show business, the show must go on. But I got to tell you, just like you, I would have stopped it immediately. Stop it, guys. Kudos going out to her.
I'll finish the song when I get down to the ground, right?
Yeah. Well, I'm glad she's okay. That's the main thing. And high five going out to being a true professional, Beyonce. One day I hope to grow up to be just like you. From Beyonce's car malfunction on stage to another star making headlines for being on, quote, cruise control. Talking about Nelly. Yeah, the St. Louis rapper is definitely sparking some mixed reactions online when it comes to parenting. During a scene from their new reality show, Ashanti calls out Nelly for sleeping through their baby's crying. Some comments online say Ashanti's basically a married single mom. Others say people shouldn't pick the bad parts of the show. And some say this moment should have just stayed private. What say you, Lindsay?
Here's the thing, guys. I don't understand why the audience, it's reality TV, right? Like, they're showing the reality. Now, people can comment on it, but it's like, what do you expect? They're just showing what happened. Now, Ashanti has to be there. So maybe they work something out where she does something and he doesn't do other things. Who knows? But they're showing you what their life is. So, I mean, that's up to them. Would I live my life that way? Probably not. But, I mean, you're watching someone else's life. So I don't know why the audience is getting, like, such a tip. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, with that song, it's getting hot in here. It's definitely getting hot for Nelly, dealing with all of that. So, yet again, they decided to put their life before the world. And so with that comes criticism. So I'm not surprised. And yet again, perhaps we don't know the entire story. And I think that's what folks need to really think about as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, maybe they have something worked out and they just kind of showed it and people clung on to that. But again, at the end of the day, when those cameras are off and the doors are closed, they're the ones that have to deal with it. So as long as they're happy, and I love them back together. So it's like, let them live their life.
Yeah, let them live, as we like to say. Speaking of living, that's exactly what Denzel Washington is doing, dropping a powerful message for Deion Sanders' Colorado University football players. Now, he joined the team virtually over the weekend, encouraging them to follow their purpose and live up to their potential, sharing a story of how at his lowest he expected love from people and awards, and when he didn't get them, he wouldn't get bitter and go home and drink. Or he would get bitter, rather, and go home and drink. Denzel reminded the group that every day they don't live up to their potential, someone else gets a step ahead. What a great message from Denzel, Lindsay.
Oh my God, yes. Love Denzel, love Deion Sanders, and love what Deion's doing up there in Colorado. It's just absolutely amazing where he's making these young men into men, right? And so it's just like, could you imagine Denzel being a motivational speaker after like having Deion as your coach? I think it's all a great message, and I'm here for it.
Yeah. All right, we'll end with this. We're talking about love in the air. In this case, going to the chapel to get married. Jeff Bezos and Lauren Sanchez made a stylish exit from Venice, wrapping up a multi-day wedding extravaganza that captivated headlines around the world. Now, the newlyweds were spotted departing Venice in a water taxi on Sunday, waving to onlookers and paparazzi as they cruised away from the historic canals. You happy about this, Lindsay, or could you care less?
I mean, am I happy? No. Can I care less? I mean, I don't know if I would say that. But I would just want to be there just to see like what the wedding was, because imagine how much money they spent. My question is all these celebrities that went to their wedding, like, fine, they want to get married, more power to them. But like, are these celebrities just there because they're celebrities, or are they your real friends? Like, that's where people are like, why is the Kardashians at Jeff Bezos' wedding? Or what? Like, isn't that a little crazy to you?
Yeah, Lindsay, I would go for the food, all you can eat food, and probably the open bar. That open bar is unlike any other, I bet you.
Oh, I bet. They probably got Louis Trey, which is usually about $400 or $500 a shot. So they probably had that flowing.
By the way, have you ever tried that?
No, I've seen it. I've never tried it, though.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to try it one time. It's really not worth it. You're not missing anything.
Cool. Well, thank you I'll take your word for it, guy.
Hey, Lindsay, what are you working on?
Actually, so I'm going to tell you, in the month of August, I'm going to be traveling around. So you're going to see me in different states, and that's all I'm going to tell you right now.
All right, that's what you call a major tease, and she does it oh so well right here on the LZ. Life with Lindsay joining us for a little celebrity dish on a Feel Good Monday. Always good to see you, Lindsay.
Always good to see you. Have a great day.
We'll take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Mr. Scott. Mr. Scott of South Carolina. No. Ms. Duckworth. Ms. Duckworth. Aye. Mr. Lee. Mr. Lee. No. Mr. Justice. Mr. Justice. No. Mr. Markey. Mr. Markey. Aye. Mr. Risch. Mr. Risch. No. Ms. Murkowski. Ms. Murkowski. Aye.
All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. Let's go over the river and through the woods, shall we? In this case, to the amazing county of Fairfax County. And when it comes to Fairfax County, covering all things surrounding that, that's where this guy comes into play. Talking about Vernon Miles with Fairfax Now. Always good to see you, my friend.
Hey, thanks so much for having me on.
But of course, let's jump into it. In this case, we're talking about officials in Fairfax now seeking voter approval of $460 million in school bonds this November. Do tell.
Yeah, so this is a $460 million bond that Fairfax County is trying to get pushed through for some of the local school districts. That sounds like a lot of money, but this is going to some very overdue repairs. We're talking about several elementary schools and at least one middle school that could be seeing complete renovations. And I've been to some of these schools. They badly need this. You know, we're talking like moldy tiles in the ceiling, crowded hallways. These are places that badly need some of these repairs. So this $460 million will go to helping to bring those schools up to speed and help keep those kids safe.
Yeah, this is really a good thing. I don't know about you, Vernon, but there's nothing like that new school smell. You remember that the first day of school, you walk back in and I don't know, it just smells different, especially when it's new.
Yeah, well, I went to military school, so we never had a new school. A new trailer is anything. But this is going to be nice for those kids. Usually these referendums are passed pretty easily. I would imagine this one will be too. Like you said, most people we can be pretty frugal on the budget here on Northern Virginia, but when it comes to schools, more than happy to spend on that one.
Yeah, well, like they say, I believe the children are the future, and it starts with education. Big major overhaul for a Metrobus this weekend, and apparently it affected service in Fairfax County.
Yeah, Metrobus is making some big changes. Part of this, what I thought was pretty silly, is that they're simplifying some of the way the routes are labeled. So it makes it very simple. If you see a D or a C, that bus is going to DC. If you see an A, it's going to be around Arlington or Alexandria. If you see an F, that's going to be Fairfax or Falls Church. So, there's no more guessing, oh, this is route Q. Is it going to take me to Alexandria or is it going to take me up to Arlington? No. Much more simple now to kind of see the general area those are going to be. Another big part of this, and I think kind of the longer term impact here, is going to be that they're cutting a lot of the routes. I think they said 600 around the area. And the idea behind that is making this much more streamlined, much smoother. So you're not stopping the bus every couple blocks, but these are kind of spaced out more.
Yeah, I got to tell you, that is ingenious. I am just somewhat perplexed that it is, the year 2025, pretty soon 26, and they're just doing this? I mean, it's the best thing ever.
Yeah, I mean, it used to be kind of a thing that you get onto a bus and when you need to get off, you'd hit the thing on the top. But this makes it more like a metro system where you have set stops and people getting on the bus know to plan, okay, if I want to go to this place, I'll get off here and, walk.
Yeah, job well done, Metro. Glad, or Fairfax County folks, glad they were able to do that. It makes my life so much more easier when I do ride the bus. We'll end with this, and that is, this is a big one, Vernon. Yep, all eyes and all ears on this one, and that is the best sandwich shop in Fairfax County.
We've had some pretty controversial polls before. We had pizza, ice cream. Those were all pretty contentious. This one, though, might take the cake. Well, the sandwich, as you will. This is what is the best sandwich shop in Fairfax. Two of the top choices, right at 33% and 29% of the vote respectively, are Celebrity Deli and The Deli over in Herndon. I haven't been to either one of these, but they sound delightful. People are certainly big fans of them.
Yeah. If I can recall, you're vegan, right?
I am vegan, so picking a sandwich shop can be kind of tough, especially if it says deli in the name. But generally, there's some pretty good ones around Fairfax.
Yeah, for me, it's an Italian sub, extra hot peppers. Oh man, I'm hungry at that. So that's my favorite sandwich. But Vernon Miles just happens to be my fave all around. And yet again, he's with Fairfax now, joining us right here on the Live Zone. Always good to see you, my friend.
Thank you so much.
No doubt. All right, guys, we'll take a quick break and we'll be right back. All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. Over on Capitol Hill, the Vote-A-Rama is underway in the Senate, during which a marathon voting session on amendments is taking place. That will likely be the topic of discussion when the White House press briefing gets underway momentarily. Earlier, several senators had this to say.
Mr. President, today, Senate Republicans have to decide: choose the American people or bow down to Donald Trump and his coterie of billionaires. Because this bill, as we have said for months, steals people's health care, jacks up their electricity bill, takes away their jobs, all to pay for tax breaks for billionaires. All month. Can we have order, Mr. President? All month, Senate Democrats have put this bill on trial in the court of public opinion. We've exposed how it steals Medicaid from more than 16 million Americans. We've exposed how it takes away food benefits from millions of hungry kids. We've exposed how this bill increases the debt by $3.5 trillion to bankroll billionaire tax breaks. We've shown how this bill increases the debt $1 trillion more than the House bill. We've shown how this bill cuts Medicaid even more than the House bill. We've shown how this bill kills climate jobs even more than the House bill. With every rewrite, Senate Republicans have made their bill more extreme, pro-billionaire, and more hostile to people's health care and livelihood. Why do they do that? There's a small group on that side of the aisle, MAGA hard right-wingers, who are dictating what's happened, and all the rest of the senators on the Republican side who know it's wrong, go along. A small group. They don't represent more than 10% of the American people, but they're dictating what this body does. A, because of the rules we have, a simple majority, but B, because our colleagues on the Republican side lack the courage of their convictions.
Lead to nursing home closures, something I believe we all can agree upon. And I would urge my colleagues to support this motion.
Idaho.
Madam President, Republicans are restoring integrity to the Medicaid program by closing loopholes and preventing states from exploiting Medicaid federal match rates. States' provider taxes for nursing homes and immediate care facilities are not phased down under this bill. Additionally, the bill repeals the harmful Biden administration's nursing home staffing rule that would have forced the closure of nursing homes and long-term care facilities. I urge my colleagues to vote against this amendment.
Madam President, I ask
Senator
the
from
yeas
Rhode
and
Island.
nays.
Is there a sufficient second? There appears to be. The clerk will call the roll.
Ms. Alsobrooks, Ms. Baldwin, Mr. Banks, Mr. Barrasso, Mr. Bennett, Mrs. Blackburn, Mr. Blumenthal, Ms. Blunt Rochester, Mr. Booker, Mr. Bozeman, Mrs. Britt.
No.
No. Oh, thank you. Thank you.
At the expense of everyone else. Look, there's nothing wrong with being wealthy, but they don't need another tax break. And they certainly shouldn't get a tax break by taking food from the mouths of hungry children. How outrageous, how cruel, how mean, how heartless, how uncaring. All to help the billionaires who they're enthralled to. And no surprise, make no surprise about it, many Republicans themselves don't seem all happy about the bill in front of them. We heard what our colleague from North Carolina had to say about this bill. My guess is about half, maybe even more than half of the Republicans in the Senate totally agree with him. But he had the courage to speak the truth, the backbone to speak the truth. but not our other colleagues. Senator Tillis spoke candidly. He was one of the few truth tellers on the other side. The bill devastates his state, but make no mistake about it, it'll devastate the states of most every Republican here. And year and month, week after week, month after month, year after year, when this bill passes, the detritus will be all over their states. People losing jobs, people's costs going up, people not getting health care, hungry kids not getting food. It's a piece of legislation that Tillis can't sell back home, and you won't be able to either, my Republican colleagues. How can any senator go home and tell their constituents, I'm sorry, I took away your health care because I wanted to give tax breaks to billionaires? And yet, Republicans are dead set on walking off a cliff by passing a bill they know will be ruinous to their own constituents. That's why Senate Democrats forced this chamber to read the bill cover to cover. That's why we debated all day yesterday. And now, it's the Republicans' turn to vote. Later this morning, very soon, we will begin the vote-a-rama process. Senate Democrats will bring one amendment after the other, again and again and again, to put Republicans on the record. We'll begin this morning with a motion to appeal the ruling of the chair to try and reverse Senate Republicans' brazen attempts to deceive the American people about the true cost of the bill. Republicans are doing something that has never been done before in the Senate by deploying fake math and budgetary hocus pocus to make it seem like their billionaire giveaways don't.
Here we have another busy week. On a scheduling note, tomorrow, President Trump will travel to the great state of Florida to attend the opening of a new illegal alien detention center located at Dade Collier Training and Transition Airport alongside Secretary Kristi Noem, Governor Ron DeSantis, Congressman Byron Donalds, and other state and local leaders. We hope to see many of you there. The facility is in the heart of the Everglades and will be informally known as Alligator Alcatraz. There is only one road leading in, and the only way out is a one-way flight. It is isolated and surrounded by dangerous wildlife and unforgiving terrain. The facility will have up to 5,000 beds to house, process, and deport criminal illegal aliens. This is an efficient and low-cost way to help carry out the largest mass deportation campaign in American history. We are truly coming off a historic week of President Trump racking up win after win on behalf of the American people. President Trump restored peace through strength and acted decisively as commander-in-chief to obliterate the immediate threat of the Iranian regime's nuclear capabilities and then brokered a ceasefire between Israel and Iran, which continues to hold. Then, the president traveled to the Netherlands and achieved a monumental win for the United States and the NATO alliance by getting our allies to dedicate 5% of their GDPs to military spending. As a result of President Trump unleashing American energy dominance, summer gas prices are at the lowest they have been in 4 years, heading into the July 4th week. And with the incoming Trump economic boom, the stock market continues to roar back, with the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ both hitting record highs. And on this point of an economic boom, I bring to you original correspondence from the President of the United States to our Fed Chair, Jerome Powell. As the President has consistently stated, the American economy is booming. And there were so many economic analysts who said that this president's policies would drive our economy down, when in fact we have seen the opposite. We've seen a massive deregulation campaign take place. We've seen inflation completely diminished from where it was under the reckless spending and the bad policies of the previous incompetent administration. I would remind the Fed chair, and I would remind the entire world, that this is a president who was a businessman first, and he knows what he is doing. He has a proven economic formula that worked in his first term as president, and it is working again. The one problem that remains is high interest rates for the American people. The American people want to borrow money cheaply, and they should be able to do that. But unfortunately, we have interest rates that are still too high. So the president sent this note to the Fed chair today. And if you look at this chart, this is a chart of all of the interest rates of many countries throughout the world. At the top is Switzerland. They're only paying 1/4 for interest rates. Cambodia, Japan, Denmark, Thailand, Botswana, Barbados, Taiwan, Bulgaria, Cuba, Sweden, Morocco, Cabo Verde, South Korea, Algeria, Canada, Albania, Libya, Malaysia, China, New Zealand, Trinidad and Tobago, Czechia, Bolivia, Australia, Costa Rica, the Bahamas, Kuwait, Papua New Guinea, Bosnia, United Kingdom, and the UAE are all paying lower interest rates than the United States of America, which has one of the hottest and strongest economies in the world. The president sent this note to the Fed chair. It says, Jerome, you are as usual too late. You have cost the USA a fortune and continue to do so. You should lower the rate by a lot. Hundreds of billions of dollars are being lost, and there is no inflation. And the president is right. There is historically low inflation thanks to his policies. And we will continue to drive down the cost of living in this country for Americans. We will continue to deregulate. And it's also incredibly important that we pass this one big, beautiful bill, which is the largest tax cuts in American history. And that's why the White House and the president himself have been in touch with lawmakers all weekend long to get this bill passed. And they are working very hard to do so. It remains a top priority for the president. And this bill has exposed the clear differences between Republicans and Democrats in 2025. The Democrats are doubling down on craziness and radical policies that are undermining the very fabric of our country. Just look at the Democrat nominee for New York City Mayor, Zohran Mamdani. He's a Democrat socialist, really a communist, who proudly calls to defund the police, peddles anti-Semitism, praises pro-Hamas groups, wants Israel abolished, and believes wealthy Americans should not exist. Those are his words, just as recent as this weekend. Meanwhile, under President Trump's leadership, Republicans are fighting tirelessly for everyday middle-class working Americans who re-elected this president, and we're carrying out a revolution of common sense, and all of that is packed into this one big, beautiful bill. It delivers the largest middle and working class tax cuts in U.S. history. It keeps America safe by funding the largest ever one-time investment in border security. It's enough to reverse the Biden border invasion. And every single Democrat is against that, against securing our border and deporting millions of criminal illegal aliens. The One Big Beautiful Bill also strengthens and protects Medicaid benefits, despite what Democrats are saying, for eligible American citizens who rely on it, like pregnant women, children, seniors, and people with disabilities, by eliminating waste, fraud, and abuse that threaten to destroy this program that was intended for the most vulnerable in our society. And every single Democrat in Congress is against rooting out that waste, fraud, and abuse and blocking the 1.4 million illegal aliens who are currently improperly receiving these benefits that should be going to American tax-paying citizens. The Democrats in Congress are more concerned with defending illegal aliens than they are hardworking Americans. And the Big Beautiful Bill also revitalizes our military and enhances our defense capabilities, protects our country from emerging new threats by funding a cutting-edge missile defense system called the Golden Dome. And as we all know, the One Big Beautiful Bill makes the Trump tax cuts permanent. The White House and the president are adamant that this bill is passed and that this bill makes its way to his desk. Republicans need to stay tough and unified during the home stretch, and we are counting on them to get the job done. So with that, we will take questions. John Fredericks is in our new media seat today. John, thanks for being here. We'll kick it to you.
Thank you, Caroline. Let's get to the One Big Beautiful Bill first. It appears now you're going to get at least 50 votes in the Senate. There'll be some amendments. What is the president's confidence level in getting 218 votes in the House by the end of this week in order for him to sign it on Friday?
Well, look, we are very well aware, the president is very well aware, that this bill needs to not only pass out of the Senate, but it needs to go back to the House, and we need the full weight of the Republican conference to get behind this bill, and we expect them to, and we are confident that they will. The president has been working hand in hand with Senate Majority Leader Thune and also our House Republican leader, or the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, both of whom will be at the White House today to meet with the president yet again. I believe they were here this morning, actually.
I have one follow-up.
Sure.
You outlined Jerome Powell and the note that the president just sent to him. There are many who believe that Powell has been politicized in a lot of different ways. The president has not been shy about acting on things that he believes in. Why not just fire Jerome Powell and put in somebody that is going to lower rates? Why wait?
Well, it's a good question and one you can ask the president because that's a decision for him to make. But you're right to point out the politicization of the Fed, and it's very unfortunate for our country. But Jerome Powell cut rates numerous times ahead of the election when Joe Biden was in this Oval Office, but now he refuses to, and the economy is in a much better place. So there really isn't a good explanation for that, and the president is rightfully calling attention to it.
Thank you.
Kelly.
Good afternoon. On Iran, the president posted on his social that he is not even talking to them anymore. When we were at NATO, he said he expected the U.S. and Iran to have talks as early as this week and that he might even want to see a written agreement. What is the update now if he's saying he's not even talking?
So as I told you from the podium last week, I said the administration, and namely our special envoy Steve Witkoff, has been in communication both directly and indirectly with the Iranians. That communication continues. The president himself has not talked to Iran, which he pointed out in his truth statement. Peter.
Thank you, Caroline. Does President Trump want Zohran Mamdani deported?
I haven't heard him say that. I haven't heard him call for that. But certainly he does not want this individual to be elected. I was just speaking to him about it and his radical policies that will completely crush New York City, which is obviously a city that the president holds near and dear to his heart.
There's this Congressman Andy Ogles. He wants the Attorney General Bondi to explore denaturalization proceedings because he thinks Mamdani could have misrepresented or concealed material support for terrorism based on rap lyrics he wrote in 2017. Does President Trump think this is a worthwhile use of the Attorney General's time?
Well, I'll let the president speak to that. I have not seen those claims, but surely if they are true, it's something that should be investigated.
And could President Trump see himself, you said you just talked to him about this, could he see himself working with a mayor, Mamdani, somebody who on Meet the Press this weekend was given 3 chances to condemn the phrase globalize the intifada, but he couldn't?
Yeah, look, the president is always willing to work with everyone. He's working with Democrats across the country, Democrat governors, and he said he'll work with people on the far left. He works with Republicans. He works with people in the middle. He wants to do what's right for America, but surely someone who holds these values and is quite literally a communist and condemns every value that makes this country great. Common sense, law and order, low taxes, working hard, and earning your keep in this country. He's against all of that, and I think the president would find it difficult to work with someone like that. If he is elected, I'm sure you'll hear more from the president on that, but we'll have to see. Hopefully the voters of New York City choose wisely. Sure.
Thanks, Caroline. The president on Friday said that he was hopeful of a Gaza deal within the next week. Can you give us an update on any progress towards that, and on any talks that the White House is having with Israel on that?
Sure. Well, I know that Mr. Dermer is in Washington this week to meet with senior officials here at the White House. I also know that this administration is in constant communication with Israeli leadership, and the president himself speaks frequently, as you know, to Prime Minister Netanyahu. But this has been a priority for the president since he took office, to end this brutal war in Gaza. It is because of this president that humanitarian aid is being brought into the region. It's heartbreaking to see the images that have come out from both Israel and Gaza throughout this war, and the president wants to see it end. He wants to save lives, and however, the main priority for the president also remains to bring all of the hostages home out of Gaza. As you know, his tireless effort has brought home many of the hostages, including all of the American hostages who were held there. So he wants to see both things happen, and we're continuing to work very hard to do those things. Sure.
Yeah, thanks, Caroline. What is the White House's response to Senator Tillis's criticism articulated from the Senate floor yesterday, in which he said passing the big, beautiful bill would betray President Trump's promise to protect Medicaid?
Well, he is just wrong. And the president and the vast majority of Republicans who are supportive of this legislation are right. This bill protects Medicaid, as I laid out for you, for those who truly deserve this program, the needy, pregnant women, children, sick Americans who physically cannot work. And what it does is it ensures that able-bodied Americans who can work 20 hours a week are actually doing so, and that will therefore strengthen and protect those benefits for Americans who need it, as well as cutting out the waste, fraud, and abuse, as well as getting 1.4 million illegal aliens off of the program. So all of those measures are actually going to protect it for those who need it. That's the president's position, and that's what this bill does, and that's why Republicans need to vote for it and get it to the president's desk.
Kind of criticism from a Republican senator, is that reason for concern for the passage of this?
No, it's not. We're confident this bill is going to be back at the White House by the 4th of July. Stephen.
Thank you, Caroline. 2 questions. On the New York mayoral race, does the president plan to make an endorsement? And secondly, on Jerome Powell, a lot of the focus obviously has been on interest rates and him keeping them high, but a new controversy erupted today. My colleague first reported that he's facing Chairman Jerome Powell is facing accusations of lying to Congress, which is a potential crime, about luxurious details of the Fed's $2.5 billion renovation project. Senator Loomis has called attention to this. Some experts want him to be investigated. Does the White House want these allegations investigated and, if found substantiated, punished?
I'll have to take a look at those allegations, and I will raise them to the president's attention and let him speak on them himself. To your first question regarding the mayoral race, the president was asked that yesterday by Maria Bartiromo. He refused to give an endorsement, so you won't get one from me at this podium unless he wants me to do that. Philip, go ahead.
Oh, okay.
Sure. And then I can go to you.
Cool.
Thanks.
Thank you. The president said that he's working on a temporary pause for immigration enforcement in certain industries. I'm wondering what you can tell us about how he's determining which industries are deserving of a pass. He mentioned farmers, but what about, say, construction workers? I mean, shouldn't there just be one standard here?
I don't have any more details to read out for you, but what I can tell you is that the White House is working closely every day with the Department of Agriculture as well as the Department of Homeland Security when it comes to workforce enforcement, worksite enforcement, and the president's focus and the focus of this administration is, of course, to remove public safety threats from the streets and to deport as many of the illegal criminals, especially the violent criminals that we know are still here because of the previous administration. So that's the main priority and the goal.
And then the president has already made cuts to the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, but now Senator Tom Cotton has put forward a bill that would cut the office by another 60%. What's the president's reaction to that legislation, and is this something that he would support, those additional cuts?
I don't know if the president's even aware of that legislation, but I will get you a response if he is aware and if he wants to respond to it. Go ahead.
Thanks, Caroline. You mentioned the dangerous wildlife at the alligator Alcatraz. Is that a design feature? Why is the president going with this mega bill in such a precarious position in the Senate? And then also, can you talk about the CBO estimate that it would add about 11 million uninsured?
Well, look, when you have illegal murderers and rapists and heinous criminals in a detention facility surrounded by alligators, yes, I do think that's a deterrent for them to try to escape. We do know that some of these illegal criminals have escaped from other detention facilities, like one in New Jersey, which I know was recently reported on. So, of course, we want to keep the American people safe, and we want to remove these public safety threats from our streets, and we want to effectively detain them as best as we can. As for why the president is going, I think his trip to this detention facility actually underscores the need to pass the One Big Beautiful Bill, because we need more detention facilities across the country. The last administration let in nearly 20 million illegal people from all over the world, and this administration is focused on arresting and detaining them. But in comparison to that 20 million illegal criminal population in our country, we only have 7,000 ICE agents in the interior who are doing this very important work. And so we obviously need more personnel, we need more resources, and that's why we need to pass the One Big Beautiful Bill.
On the CBO's
Go ahead. Yes, in the pink.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Welcome.
Can you please share some details of China trade deal? Has the U.S. agreed to ease some export, technology export restrictions?
Sure. Well, the final language that was agreed upon in both Geneva and in London was signed just past week. We can get you that final text of the agreement. Go ahead.
Thank you, Caroline.
Eamon, and then behind you.
Okay, thanks, Caroline. So on Jay Powell, has the president got a short list of who he wants to see as Jay Powell's successor, and is he going to name a successor as early as this summer?
I won't get ahead of the president on any announcements on that.
Does he like Scott Besson for the job?
Again, I won't get ahead of the president.
And on TikTok, if you could, real quick, he said yesterday he's got a buyer, but the question there is, does he have a seller? And you have any indication from the Chinese government that they've authorized a sale of TikTok to the U.S. or to U.S. buyers?
What I can tell you is that these discussions with China regarding the sale of TikTok have been ongoing at the highest level, and they will continue. As you know, we have another 90-day extension, and it's just to continue to work out this deal and make sure that TikTok stays on for the American people. That's the president's main goal in this, while protecting their privacy and their security. Behind you. Go ahead.
Thank you, Caroline. The president has been calling for a deal in Gaza for 2 days and many posts. Who is blocking the deal? And one other thing, when he posted on Netanyahu's trial, also he said it interferes with the negotiations on Iran and on Gaza. What did he mean by that?
I'm sorry, to your second question?
When he posted about the Israeli Prime Minister trial, he
Yes.
said it interferes with the negotiations on Gaza and on Iran. What did he mean by that?
It interferes because it physically and logistically was interfering. The Prime Minister was slated to go to court last week when he's in the middle of negotiating a peace deal and bringing hostages out of a war-torn region. And so the president was simply, I think, emphasizing his empathy that he has for Bibi Netanyahu and seeing him go what he's going through with his own judicial system in the state of Israel. Clearly, the president knows that very well. He, too, was a victim of a judicial system that was trying to put him in jail, as you all know. You all covered it. But President Trump prevailed. That's why he's back in the Oval Office, and he believes that Bibi Netanyahu is a great leader for the people of Israel. The president just worked with him closely to end that 12-day war and to obliterate Iran's nuclear facility, to take out that imminent threat, not just to the state of Israel, but also to the United States of America and the rest of the world. And he believes that Prime Minister Netanyahu should be praised for that. Go ahead.
Ms. Caroline, on the mega bill and the amendment that would limit Medicaid expansion under the Affordable Care Act, does the president want that amendment to pass?
The president wants this bill to pass. Meredith.
Hey, thanks, Caroline. On trade, we have this looming July 9th deadline coming up. We heard the Treasury Secretary say that he expects to wrap up these trade deals by Labor Day, but when President Trump was asked yesterday about any extensions by July 9th, he said, I think that would be necessary. So is the president ruling out any extensions on trade for any nations, even if they're negotiating in good faith?
Well, you heard from him directly. He said he did not think that it would be necessary. He is going to set the rates for many of these countries if they don't come to the table to negotiate in good faith. And he is meeting with his trade team this week to do that. Mary.
Thanks, Caroline. I just watched a CNN segment on a new app called Ice Block, and it kind of appeared to be promoting this app where you can tell people where ICE agents are. Given the recent rise,
An app that tells people where ICE agents are?
Yes. And given the rise, I believe 500% increase in assaults on ICE agents, I wanted to see if you could comment on that and why CNN would be promoting such an app.
Well, it's a very good question. I'll have to go back and watch the clip myself, but surely it sounds like this would be an incitement of further violence against our ICE officers. As you know, as you stated, there's been a 500% increase in violence against ICE agents, law enforcement officers across the country who are just simply trying to do their jobs and remove public safety threats from our communities. And that's something we as Americans, including journalists at CNN who live in many of these cities where illegal aliens are hiding and were let in from the previous administration, should be very grateful for. So we haven't seen the clip. We'll take a look at it, but certainly it's unacceptable that a major network would promote such an app that is encouraging violence against law enforcement officers who are trying to keep our country safe.
Caroline,
Shelby.
I just wanted to get a clarification on the Senator Rick Scott's amendment. It sounds like the president is agnostic about whether it's attached. Is that accurate?
Look, I'm not going to get into the details of the discussions that are ongoing right now, but the president wants these senators to come to a conclusion, to get this bill back to the White House as soon as possible and make sure that it's a piece of legislation that can make its way back through the House as well. So obviously there's some ping-ponging between both sides of Capitol Hill right now, but that's why Senator Thune and Speaker Johnson are working with the president in lockstep every step of the way. In the back, News Nation, go ahead.
Thanks, Caroline. The president did
and then in front of you, yes.
In front of
Sure, I'll take both of you.
The president did announce last week that the trade deal with India is closed,
and this could happen anytime soon. Are there any roadblocks as of now? Are there any updates on that? And how does the president see this about China's role or its influence in the Indo-Pacific region?
Sure, yes. The president said that last week, and it remains true. I actually just spoke to our Secretary of Commerce about it. He was in the Oval Office with the president. They are finalizing these agreements, and you'll hear from the president and his team, his trade team, very soon when it comes to India.
And on China? How do we counter China on that front?
Yes, I mean, look, India remains a very strategic ally in the Asia Pacific, and the president has a very good relationship with Prime Minister Modi, as you know, and he will continue to have that. Go ahead.
Thank you, Caroline. On the reconciliation bill, Senator Tillis from the floor yesterday seemed to suggest President Trump was getting bad counsel on the effects of the bill. Is President Trump aware of the analyses, and there are several of these, that suggest if rural hospitals potentially close, if there are Medicaid patients in the millions that become ineligible for that?
Yes, and that claim is just simply untrue. Rural hospitals comprise 7% of all hospital spending on Medicaid, and that illustrates that they have not benefited from the massive increase of waste, fraud, and abuse under the Biden administration. So this bill strengthens Medicaid. It will protect those benefits that hardworking Americans need, and that's why the president wants this bill to pass. The senator was wrong. The president put out a Truth Social post addressing it, and then the senator announced he's no longer running for office anymore. So I think that case has been closed, and the White House is continuing to focus on getting this legislation to the president's desk for his signature. Go ahead. Yes, you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Caroline.
Well, you and then you. There's confusion here.
A question on Syria.
Go ahead.
Has the Syrian government get back to you that they are ready to join the Abraham Accord? Is there any discussion with the Syrian and Israeli government for having a security agreement? Is the first question. And the second question, what's the end goal for talking with the Iranian? Is that only focused on the nuclear program, or you are willing to speak about other issues like the proxy groups and ballistic missiles, or even trade with Iran?
So as for discussions between Syria and Israel, you'll have to reach out to those respective governments. I can't comment on that. But what I can tell you is that this afternoon, the president will be signing an executive order to terminate the United States sanctions program on Syria. And this is in an effort to promote and support the country's path to stability and peace. The order will remove sanctions on Syria while maintaining sanctions on the former President Assad, his associates, human rights abusers, drug traffickers, persons linked to chemical weapons activities, ISIS and their affiliates, and Iranian proxies. And this is, again, an action that the president promised and shocked the world with in Saudi Arabia, because he's committed to supporting a Syria that is stable, unified, and at peace with itself and its neighbors. The president met with Syria's new president when we were in the Middle East, as you know, and so this is another promise made and promise kept by this president to promote peace and stability in the region. Go ahead, Alice.
Sure. Questions on two topics, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Alice Howe with NTD here. First on Canada. Canada says it's now dropping its digital services tax on American tech companies days after President Trump says he's halting all trade talks with Canada. First, what's the president's reaction to this? Can you tell us more about his call with Prime Minister Carney over the weekend? How did he get Carney to drop it? And also, what's the impact on American tech companies given this latest progress, as the president says he has been fighting for American tech companies?
It's very simple. Prime Minister Carney in Canada caved to President Trump in the United States of America. And President Trump knows how to negotiate, and he knows that he is governing the best country and the best economy in this world, on this planet. And every country on the planet needs to have good trade relationships with the United States. And it was a mistake for Canada to vow to implement that tax. That would have hurt our tech companies here in the United States. The president made his position quite clear to the Prime Minister, and the Prime Minister called the president last night to let the president know that he would be dropping that tax, which is a big victory for our tech companies and our American workers here at home.
And on Harvard, if you don't mind, the administration today formally accused Harvard of violating civil rights laws by not doing enough to fight anti-Semitism. We know that the president has talked to us before about Harvard potentially having a deal with the administration in the coming days. Do you have an updated timeline for that? How's the negotiations going? And is more pressure needed for Harvard to take fighting anti-Semitism seriously?
Well, there was quite a direct letter that was sent to Harvard this morning, as you know. The negotiations are taking place behind closed doors, so I won't comment on that. But what I will share with all of you, for those who haven't seen it, is the context of this letter, because I think it's very important. And this comes from the Department of Health and Human Services, which concluded after a thorough investigation that Harvard University is in a violent violation of Title VI of the Civil Rights Act, which prohibits discrimination on the basis of race, color, and national origin. And if you read some of the content of the investigation and what they found, the majority of Jewish students reportedly experienced negative bias or discrimination on their campus, while a quarter of Jewish students at Harvard felt physically unsafe. Jewish and Israeli students were assaulted and spit on. They hid their kippahs for fear of being harassed and concealed their Jewish identity from classmates for fear of ostracization. Images were widely circulated amongst the Harvard community that trafficked in obvious anti-Semitic tropes, including one that showed a $sign inside of a Star of David, and the campus was vandalized with anti-Semitic stickers, including one that showed the Israeli flag with a swastika. The Harvard campus was racked by demonstrations, as you all know, violent protests that violated the university's rules of conduct. The demonstrations called for genocide and murder, denied Jewish and Israeli students access to campus spaces. These are all facts that Harvard cannot dispute, and that's why the administration has found them in violation of Title VI and has threatened to withhold their federal funding, because if you break federal law, you should not be receiving federal tax dollars. And so I rest my case on Harvard. Andrea.
Yeah, so President Macron of France earlier today said that tariffs levied by powerful countries are often a form of blackmail, and criticized the sort of process that's underway. He didn't mention the United States specifically, but said that these tariffs are really hurting developing countries. So there's this big UN conference going on. What do you say to that? What is the president, was he aware of that comment, and did he have any response?
I think the president and the White House would certainly reject that characterization by Prime Minister Macron. Tariffs are an effective use of presidential power to bring back the middle class, to bring back our manufacturing industry, which was the backbone of our American economy and has been hollowed out by globalist politicians who have caved to foreign countries instead of doing what's right for American workers. That's why the president is effectively utilizing his authority to wage tariffs and to utilize tariffs, and continues to be in discussions and negotiations on trade to do what's right for America. And Europe and the rest of the world might not be used to that, but President Trump is back in town, and he's going to do what's right for our people and our country.
Can I just follow up on Netanyahu? So there's a report in Israeli media that the Prime Minister will actually be here, that Netanyahu will be here today meeting with the President. Can you confirm that?
I don't believe Prime Minister Netanyahu is here today. I think you guys would know about that by now. Unless there's something going on I don't know about, but I don't believe he is. I do know he has expressed interest in coming to Washington and meeting with the President, and we are working on a date for that. I do not believe it is today, but that would be fun. You never know in this White House, let's be honest. Go ahead.
Thanks, Carolyn. Does the President support this new measure in the big, beautiful bill that would impose steep new taxes on new wind and solar projects?
I believe you're referring to the credits for wind and solar projects.
No,
and
we're talking about the new tax. There's a new tax that it's estimated would add 10 to 20% to the cost of any new wind and solar projects that start after this year.
Again, I don't want to comment on the specifics of provisions, but I'm sure the President will speak on that directly. Again, this is an ongoing process. The President continues to be very much engaged with the leadership in both the Senate and the House to get this bill back to his desk.
Did the President ask for that provision? Because the National Building Trades Union is saying that it's the equivalent of terminating more than 1,000 Keystone XL pipeline projects. Is that something that would concern him?
Well, the President spoke on this yesterday in his interview, and he said he understands that legislators want to protect jobs in their communities and in their districts. And so he understands why some of them are against this provision, but he also understands why people want the provision. So again, this is an ongoing deliberation and discussion, and the President is engaged in this very much. Go ahead.
Thanks, Caroline. We've been hearing from White House officials for weeks that you're close on trade deals with a number of countries. Can we get any update on
which countries will have deals by the 9th and when there may be any announcements? on
I'll let
that?
the president and the trade team speak on it.
Can you respond to the CBO estimate that the Senate bill would increase the deficit by nearly 3.3 trillion?
This is one of the most fiscally conservative pieces of legislation that has ever made its way through Capitol Hill. There's $2 trillion in mandatory savings in this bill, and not only that, the projected growth that this bill will bring to our economy. It will be an economic boom. The Council of Economic Advisors has an analysis that shows that the bill will generate $4.1 trillion in economic growth, and it will cut taxes, putting more money back into the American people's pockets. That's why this president wants this bill to pass, and I know he's busy working the phones and doing what he needs to do today to make it happen. So we'll see you all later. Thank you. We'll see you in Florida tomorrow.
There you have it. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt addressing several things. Obviously top of mind, the president's big, beautiful bill. The press secretary stating that lawmakers should pass the bill ASAP, and also stated that, well, despite popular belief, this bill does protect Medicaid. We'll take a quick break and we'll be right back.
Ms. Blunt Rochester, Mr. Booker, Mr. Bozeman, Mrs. Britt, Mr. Budd, Ms. Cantwell, Mrs. Capito, Mr. Cassidy, Ms. Collins, Mr. Coons, Mr. Cornyn, Ms. Cortez Masto, Mr. Cotton, Mr. Kramer, Mr. Crapo, Mr. Cruz, Mr. Curtis, Mr. Daines, Ms. Duckworth, Mr. Durbin, Ms. Ernst, Mr. Fetterman, Mrs. Fisher,
All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. I want to say thank you so much for watching us today. Tonight, well, we're going to do a little Like It or Not. I'll be joining the cast of characters, if you will. One of the discussions that we will actually lay down happens to surround eye contact, or the lack thereof, which is just so funny to me because it's something that I dealt with over the weekend. So make sure you check us all out. Oh, by the way, Sonny, Chaos Thursday is coming to Monday. So Sonny's going to join us, myself, Marina, Jim, and my very good friend and colleague, Sonny. If you haven't already done so, make sure you download the Fox Local app. That way you can, well, get your news and everything you need with regard to that each and every day. It's really simple. All you have to do is click on the QR code if you're out and about and traveling and or even get a chance to go out shopping. You should make sure you download it. We had Caesar on earlier, of course, all things weather, as it is very hot. And obviously you want to know the latest with regard to your forecast. Well, that's where you can go and get it. Also want to thank Dani Moore King. Obviously, she is running for a state delegate in District 26. She was kind enough to jump on the show with us earlier. Life with Lindsay. Yeah, talking about that marriage that happened over the weekend. Yeah, I'm talking about Jeff Bezos, Lauren Sanchez. Well, she had a couple of things to say about that. Truly appreciate her. And by the way, big congratulations going out to the D.C. Chamber of Commerce. They celebrate the Juneteenth Awards. That's set to get underway beginning at 4 p.m. right here in the nation's capital. Guys, if you haven't already done so, make sure you tell a friend, bring a friend. We do this each and every Monday through Friday, 12 to 2, and we'll do it again tomorrow. Thank you so much for watching. This is the Fox 5 Live Zone.